This was the most celebrated personal finance book once upon a time. But today, this is ranked as the number one world's most overrated personal finance book. So, what changed? In this video, I will review Rich Dad Poor Dad and we'll see if it is still worth reading Rich Dad Poor Dad anymore. Hi, I'm Santhosh Kanna. Welcome to this video. Rich Dad Poor Dad was the first ever personal finance book that I read in my life. And I read this book in 2020 when I was 17 years old. And as a 17-year-old boy, it was such a valuable and mind blowing book. And it opened my perspective in multiple different ways regards to the personal finance world, and it is intended for beginners. Who is this book for? It is for the people who are just starting out. If you're someone who knows nothing about personal finance, who knows nothing about money, nothing about investing, and you want to start somewhere, then 100% I will recommend Rich Dad Poor Dad to you. But that brings us to the question that then, if it was so valuable, why is this book so hated right now? Because that I will tell in the last part of this video. So make sure that you watch this video till the very end. Let's get started with a summary of Rich Dad Poor Dad. This book was written by Robert Kiyosaki. This man right here. He is an American businessman and he wrote this book in 1997. And this book is basically divided into 6 major parts and 6 major lessons as Robert tells it. Lesson number 1: Rich don't work for money, money works for them. As the title suggests, there is a rich dad and a poor dad. So, this book revolves around the comparison of these two people. So, the poor dad is Robert's real father, who is a traditional man. He is a stable, educated, he did all these things that society tells us what success means. He went to college, he did his PhD, he got a job, he worked very well, but he is a poor man. On the contrary, there is a rich dad who is Robert's friend's father. He didn't complete his studies beyond 8th standard, but he owns all of the luxuries that Robert wants to own, which is he owns multiple cars, multiple big penthouses, and he is a businessman. He runs multiple businesses. So that got Robert curious, and he dug deep on and found out what differentiates these two people. Now let's take two scenarios, which is the mindset of a rich dad and a poor dad, which means a growth mindset versus a stagnant mindset. So the first lesson is mostly psychological, it is mindset based. So in this lesson, the comparison between rich dad and the poor dad goes like: the poor dad thinks that he can't afford things. If he finds something expensive or pricey, he says that I can't afford this, and he takes burden of his responsibilities. He says that I am not rich because I have many responsibilities of feeding for my family, taking care of the kids, and he thinks that money doesn't buy happiness, money is not important, money is not everything. And he thinks that love for money is the root cause of all evil. And on top of all of this, he is not interested in money. On the contrary, there is a rich dad. He thinks that the lack of money is the root cause of all evil. He believes that money is power, money is so very important. Also, when he finds something very expensive or costly, instead of saying that I can't afford this, he says that how can I afford this? What should I do to afford this? Right? That is the difference between a growth mindset versus a stagnant mindset, which Robert clearly and beautifully depicts in a very playful manner with the example of a rich dad and a poor dad. Lesson number 2: financial literacy. Robert believes that financial literacy is supremely important for anyone who is willing to build their wealth. He says that it does not matter how much money you make. All that matters is how much money you keep. And this lesson is by far the most interesting lesson for me. The time in which I read it, and even today, this is the most interesting chapter for me, which is he differentiates the difference between an asset and a liability. In Robert's words, an asset is something that puts money in your pocket, which can be your gold investments, your stock investments, your real estate investments, or any investment that puts money in your pocket. It can be your business, it can be your rental income from the properties that you have leased. And Robert defines liability as something that takes money away from your pocket. It can be any materialistic thing like a car, like something fancy you buy to show off to people, like a handbag. Now, there is an important caveat here which I've understood through my life, that the same thing can be an asset or a liability depending upon whether it makes money to you or it takes money away from you. For example, say suppose I buy an iPhone, right? An iPhone can help me create better videos. It can increase my video production quality. It can increase the satisfaction of you, the viewer, while watching this video, and it can in turn generate money for me. So buying an iPhone for me can be an asset, while someone who is buying an iPhone just to show off to their friends, it can't be a great investment, right? It is a liability for them. Same goes with the home. Say for example, you bought a house to live in it. It cannot be an asset. It is a liability. But you have to understand that buying a house is an emotional investment for most of the people. Even though it is a liability, it is necessary. So you have to acknowledge the fact that it is a necessary liability, not an asset. Now, how does a house become an asset? Only when you buy a house only to rent it out or give it on lease or make it a commercial property and leave it on rent. Only then that becomes an asset for you. Now that brings us to the third lesson, which is generating multiple income streams. Robert stresses on the fact that having a job is basic survival. You have to go beyond your job to create multiple income streams through rental income, through having assets in the stock market. You should create multiple income streams as you progress in your career. And in today's world, it has almost become a necessity to have multiple income streams. You can't just survive with a single income stream throughout your entire life. Now comes the lesson number 4, which is leveraging taxes. Tax is a huge burden for any salaried employee in India or in any part of the world except for some countries, right? You pay tax on your income even before it reaches your hand. Say for example, you are an employee and your salary reaches your hand. Before you even get to take your salary, the government takes income tax from you. The company deducts PF amount from your salary before you even get it to your hand, right? But this is not the same case for businesses. For businesses, there is corporate tax. It is different. If you own a business, you need not pay taxes on your income. You just have to pay taxes on your profits. That is a huge difference, right? You can take money wherever you want and you can invest your money for your rents, for your employees, salaries, for your electricity bills, for your water, for anything and everything that you have to keep your business running for. And you can subtract that everything from your income, and then on the generated profit you have to pay your taxes. How cool is that? How you have to leverage these things to become wealthy. And on top of this, there are multiple systems that allow you to deduct tax to manage your taxes effectively so that you get the most benefit out of your hard earned money, right? So this chapter talks about you know very practically making use of it in the fullest way possible. Lesson number 5. This is a not so you know practically advisable lesson, but Robert says that the rich invent money, which basically means that you are just a guy with a startup idea within you, and there are multiple startup ventures, VC capital, and startup capital flowing into the country. Like, you have multiple opportunities for people to fund money to you, and you can make use of these opportunities and get money from them, and you can create your own startup which in turn generates money for you. How cool is that? And this is very simple. There is a product, say for example milk. You can take the milk and make paneer or make cheese or make ice creams out of it, and you can build an empire out of it, right? It is basically value addition. The more the value, the more price you can charge for it. Thus the rich generate or invent money instead of waiting for a salary. And that brings us to the last lesson, which is lesson number 6. Work for learning, don't work for money. This is the best lesson and the most important lesson in any book or anything that you read. Perpetual learning is so important in this world, because in this AI world, the world is changing every 3 to 4 months. You have to be on top, you have to be informed on each and everything that happens in your domain, so that you don't miss out on any newer updates, and you don't miss out on the race in your domain to your competition. Also, it is very important to you to keep learning, to keep knowing more, and you can't just rely on a 1997 written book for your investment thesis, right? That brings us to the last part of this video. Why is this book so overrated in recent times? So here are few points that people put up on why they think this book is overrated. Number 1, this book lacks practical steps. Number 2, it is so much real estate focused, it oversimplifies success, and it has too much motivation impact. Number 3, it portrays stable traditional employees as foolish and poor people. Now I'll reply to all of these things one by one. This book is intended to any beginner who wants to start learning about finance. So it lacks practical steps, of course, but in my opinion it fulfills the purpose it was written for, which is to get beginners to learn more about investing, to learn about more about money. Number 2, it is too much real estate focused. Now I will quote the lesson 6 of this book, which is perpetual learning. You can't just rely on one investment thesis of a person, right? For example, if Elon Musk is bullish on Dogecoin, it's not that you have to invest of entire wealth of yours in Dogecoin, right? Say for example, if gold prices are skyrocketing, it's not necessary that 100% of your investments have to go in gold. These are momentary fluctuations, these are temporary. You can't just rely on one investment thesis, right? You have to diversify. You should have your own learning, your own portfolio according to your own risks. Personal finance is personal for a reason. Number 3 is that it portrays stable traditional job employees as lazy, as foolish, as poor. But look around you, it is not necessary that all people who do a 9 to 5 are losing in life. There are multiple passionate people who work at the places that they want to work. Say for example, you can become a millionaire or even a billionaire if you were an employee in a startup called Nvidia a few years back, right? It is not necessary that you have to become an entrepreneur in order to become a millionaire or a billionaire. But in today's world, most employees, they do their work out of survival, out of, they don't have any other option. In that case, you do your own job, but create multiple income streams and get ahead in your career, get ahead in your life. Don't get stuck in the rock bottom. That is what Robert says. At least that is what I inferred in my opinion. And it is not wrong. People who made use of the multiple opportunities in this internet era, they went ahead in life. And people who relied on a single income stream, they're all still stuck. You can look around yourself and you will find numerous examples. So I don't think this is wrong. This point is very valid. Just because it triggers us so much that we tend to become defensive on it. But just think about it, and it is absolutely necessary for us to look beyond one income stream or one job or one traditional path of career. Having said that, you tell me whether you think this book is overrated or you find this valuable in the comment section below. And I've also attached the summary notes that I took in 2020 while reading this book in the comment section below. Please do check that out. And if you like this video, please leave a like and subscribe to this channel so that you don't miss out on any future videos. I am Santhosh Kanna. See you in the next one. Take care.